They did the same with Agent Orange. Agent Orange is a defoliant, an herbicide used by the US Army during the Vietnam War. They used to spray the herbicide, you know, in South Vietnam. And Monsanto knew that it was very dangerous, very toxic, because it contains dioxin. They not only concealed the data they had about this product, they manipulated a scientific study to hide, you know, the link between Agent Orange exposure and cancer.
In a 2001 article in the New Statesman, the author Ziauddin Sardar, a journalist who was invited by the U.S. State Department for a specially tailored GM tour, visited the Monsanto Life Sciences Research Center in St. Louis, Missouri, to be introduced to a new, caring, sharing Monsanto that wants us to believe that GM agriculture will save humanity. The British journalist commented that everyone he met involved in the industry, from the corporation and the government, was suffering from something he called historical amnesia. In the 1950s, pesticides were sold with exactly the same rhetoric. In the 1960s and 70s, nuclear power was promoted with equal confidence. One led to Silent Spring and numerous species extinctions, the other to the 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl disasters. Memories, Sardar said, did not even extend back to 1989, when the FDA banned L-tryptophan, a genetically engineered dietary supplement. It had killed 37 people, permanently disabled about 1,500, and poisoned more than 5,000 before it was recalled. And yet, the public is bombarded with propaganda that GM seeds from Monsanto are to be trusted in terms of health and promises of higher yields that are produced in an environmentally friendly way. Maybe, just maybe, their ability to get away with claims like these on such insufficient and contradictory evidence has to do with numbers such as $8,831,120 that Monsanto spent on federal political lobbying in 2008 alone. Or it has to do with Tom Vilsack, Obama's Secretary of Agriculture, who has a record of supporting the genetic engineering of crops and is founder of the Governor's Biotechnology Partnership, whose main mission is to act as a clearinghouse for biotech information and promote the case of worldwide acceptance of GMOs. Or Ann Veneman, Bush's Secretary of Agriculture, who was on the board of directors for Monsanto's Calgene Corporation and has returned to work for the company after her term. Or Rufus Yerxa, Deputy Director General of the WTO and former Chief International Counsel for Monsanto. Or William Ruckelshaus, former head of the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency of the USA, who served on Monsanto's board for more than 12 years. The political ties with Monsanto executives are endless.
Now, a farm bill. The government is going to tell you what you could grow on your farm, how to grow it, but could they tell you how to grow your garden? Really? No big deal, or yet another sign the government really doesn't know its boundaries. A number of food safety bills are circulating in Congress now, and I've been getting a lot of phone calls on these to my radio program. This happened after the peanut scare. One of them threatens to wipe out small farmers, and you could even be in trouble for growing a tomato in your backyard. That's what some people are saying. It's the Food Safety Monitorization Act. With me now is Tim Whiteman. He owns a small dairy farm in Ohio. Also, Debbie Stockton. She's with the National Independent Consumers and Farmers Association. Debbie, let me start with you. People are calling me up left and right and saying this thing is a nightmare for anybody with a farm, even a garden down the road. Is any of that true?
Yeah, sure, it's absolutely true. The way the bill is written, it has very broad language, and it says that a food production facility shall be considered to be every farm, ranch, orchard, aquacultural facility, vineyard, or confined animal feeding operation. Well, what the bill does not exclude explicitly, it includes implicitly. It does not define farm. It doesn't say a farm is this, that, or the other. It simply says every farm. Well,
Okay.
A farm can be construed. Go ahead.
Well, hang on, Debbie. I mean, my grandfather had a berry farm. My uncle still lives on the same street, and he still has a farm, and it's only a few acres, and he grows corn and everything else, but he shares the corn with his neighbors and everything else. That could be regulated now?
Absolutely. And just if they say, well, it's not our intent, that's absolutely meaningless, because intent has no bearing on what is actually the language in the law.
So what good can knowing that Monsanto is capable at this rate of controlling global food production, and so the world is doomed, do for us? To begin with, uncovering all of this information has achieved one of my primary objectives in understanding the effects of globalization on the lowest socioeconomic strata of the agricultural world. Armed with this knowledge, I can see a place for this project in my uncle's school in rural Tamil Nadu in the south of India, where almost all imparted knowledge in science and technology is based on studies conducted in the developed world and are unquestioningly trusted for rationality. I see a place for this project on local radio shows on science and health in India for the common people who constantly hear of the rising numbers of farmer suicides in their area due to debt, but never are told why and how their own government and corporations and governments and corporations of countries half a world away have played a role in them. I see a place for this research in letting you know that the steps we take here in America, a world superpower, to create awareness and prevent injustice, have far-reaching effects that filter down and provide relief to people in villages that we probably will never know to have been directly affected, and whose people have no means of accessing the information we have in helping them understand the source of their suffering. I end this video with the second part of Percy Schmeisser's speech on his legal battle against Monsanto and the small successes that were gained in his determination to refuse being coerced into admittance of guilt by the agricultural MNC. I hope this inspires faith in the possibility of escaping the vicious cycle that plagues these farmers' lives, and a reminder of how much of the battle remains to be fought.
We had the original lawsuit, but then they laid another lawsuit against us after the Federal Court of Appeal for $1 million that they wanted us to pay them for their legal costs because they and court costs, disbursement costs, fines, punitive damage, and so on. So we had to go to court and fight that also at the same time. When Monsanto found out that how we were financing our legal bills by putting mortgages and liens on our land, then they tried, with liens and caveats, they tried to seize our house, they tried to seize our farmland, they tried to seize all our farm equipment to stop us. So we had 3 battles with Monsanto by the time it went to the Supreme Court. Now what the Supreme Court ruled was this. First of all, on the issue of patent infringement, which Monsanto laid against us originally, they said we would not have to pay Monsanto no money whatsoever. And that was a major victory, because if we would have had to pay Monsanto $1 million or $2 million, we wouldn't be here today. But what was not fair, the Supreme Court ruled Monsanto has to pay their legal bill. My wife and I would have to pay our own legal bill. Monsanto's legal bill was over $2 million. Our legal bill by that time was over $400,000. And believe me, it's a lot easier for a corporation, a billion-dollar corporation, to pay $2 million for a test case, which they admitted, to see how far they could exercise control over farmers under patent law, than for my wife and I, as a farmer, to stand up for farmers' rights to pay $400,000. And that was not right. Now, the issue of who owns life. And this is what they ruled, and I'll give the exact wording. Monsanto's patent on a gene is valid. And wherever that gene arises, by whatever means, in any higher life form, they own and control that higher life form. Now just stop and think about that. If you can patent a seed or a plant, what about a bird, bee, animal, and even a human being? So now we got more problems than what we have answers. As I said, can you go all the way with the patents on a gene to human life? Supreme Court of Canada said it has to go back to the Parliament of Canada to sort this whole thing out. First of all, bring in new legislation, new laws to protect the rights of farmers, especially in regards to being able to use and retain their control of their seed. And first of all, and secondly, that life should not be patented.